Hey, it turns out the US government has been wasting taxpayer money. Wow, who could have guessed? Welcome to America Uncovered, I'm Chris Chappell. Tell me if you've heard this one before. The feds are squandering taxpayer money. Shocking, I know. Being no fan of government spending, Senator Rand Paul put out his yearly Festivus Report, where he goes over some pretty wild government spending. The report is a nod to the Festivus holiday from the hit sitcom Seinfeld, and family members share why they're disappointed in each other over the holiday meal. This year's report lists a bit more than $1 trillion worth of spending on some pretty questionable things. Now, not everything is shocking. Since Paul is a libertarian, any big bucket government spending projects tend to worry him. That's why he included the combined $15.5 billion of electric vehicle and battery production from both the Department of Energy and the Inflation Reduction Act. And the Department of Defense spending a combined $88 billion on literal combat ship production, operation, and support. The literal, that's how it's pronounced. These ships have been a government nightmare, and the situation has been widely recognized as billions of dollars of waste due to the problems plaguing the ships, with some having been decommissioned early. It's the sunk cost fallacy on keeping ships from, sinking. Paul's also concerned about all the ways in which the U.S. government spends money abroad. Almost $3 million on girl-centered climate action in Brazil? Yes, Barbie's dream greenhouse. Then there's $2.1 million on Paraguayan border security, because that really helps stop the flood of illegal immigrants. And $14.1 million in promoting fertilizer use in Pakistan, Vietnam, Colombia, and Brazil. Yes, we're spending millions on literal and figurative crap. There's also been some weird spending projects. For example, cocaine rats. Yes, you heard me right. Cocaine rats. It's a miracle the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had a good father figure with this research going around, though that would explain why Splinter was so skinny. According to Paul's 2024 report, New York University got over $400,000 in grant money from the Department of Health and Human Services to experiment on rats with cocaine. What purpose was this supposed to serve? Ruin their appetites so they don't steal as much pizza? Well, according to Paul, scientists wanted to find out if rats living in hunger, boredom, and isolation were more likely to increase drug use than rats with food, toys, and company. And apparently, scientists found out that being alone without food and entertainment leads to more drug use. $400,000 well spent. A much more gruesome experiment involves cats. A $10 million DARPA experiment with the University of Pittsburgh wanted to know if electric shocks to exposed cat spines via electrodes could induce erections and defecation of marbles. Apparently, it was research on spinal cord injury treatment. I've heard of people losing their marbles, but this is ridiculous. Paul's Festivus Report has exposed a lot of this sort of things over the years. For instance, have you ever wondered if cocaine makes Japanese quails more sexually promiscuous? I know I have. Thankfully, the NIH spent over $874,000 to see. Why are scientists so interested in giving animals cocaine? It's like they learned nothing about the dangers of it from that award-winning documentary, Cocaine Bear. In 2022, Paul reported that the NIH had annually awarded Northeastern University grant funds totaling over $3 million since 1996 to watch steroid-injected hamsters fight. It was for studying whether current drugs for youth suppress steroid-induced aggression, and also potentially to start their own pro-hamster wrestling league. What's up with the government's obsession with getting animals high, aggressive, and horny? Look out, Hamtaro. Now, not all experiments Paul lists sound so unreasonable. Some at least seem to have some practical applications, so certainly not the PETA. For example, Paul complains about the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and the U.S. Department of Agriculture spending $2.24 million on COVID experiments done on cats. This got I am the science Dr. Fauci in a lot of heat over animal abuse accusations. But the purpose was to see how easily COVID could infect animals and then pass it on to humans, which is important for anyone with contact with animals, from zookeepers to farmers to scientists giving cocaine to cats. Not every experiment seems to have a reasonable purpose, though. For example, the National Health Institute's medieval-type experiments on kittens involving partial brain removal and spinning apparatuses to test motion sickness. Great, so now we know how many times kittens can ride the gravitron before spewing up their cotton candy. The National Science Foundation got almost $300,000 for creating diverse and inclusive affinity groups for bird watchers. It's just one of the many ways the National Science Foundation promotes DEI. Though this diagram showing ducks belong with ducks, geese belong to geese, and parrots belong to parrots doesn't feel very inclusive. These are the same people who want to prioritize certain people based on group identities. Discriminating based on race sounds like something I've heard of, but I just can't remember the word. Rand Paul only cited this particular instance of DEI, but trust me, there's a whole bunch more being funded by the NSF. If you want to learn more about that, check out this video. You can find the link below. Rand Paul's Festivus reports raise an important question we should all be asking ourselves. What exactly counts as wasteful spending? Some might say I engage in wasteful spending by buying every new edition they release of the entire Gilmore Girls collection, while I call those people dullards who don't appreciate physical media. It's very easy to spend other people's money, especially when you're the government and you can force people to give you their money. Take San Francisco as an example. The city was initially set on spending $1.7 million on a single public toilet. The Rand Paul types think money spent on art and media could be better put to use to help American people, or at the very least curtail reckless spending. They would rather see the private sector take care of that domain. Is it really necessary for the government to subsidize sculptures? That's why Paul called it a waste when he learned the National Endowment for the Arts spent $365,000 on city park circus performances since 2018, though it's not a surprise since Congress is full of clowns and they love the circus. It's also why he included the Department of State paying the Royal Film Commission over $873,000 for movies and production training in Jordan and $123,000 on training Kyrgyzstani youths in content creation and related skills. As if we didn't have enough vapid influencers in America, now we're outsourcing them. Then there's the National Endowment for the Humanities spending over $388,000 on the Magic in the United States podcast. It capped out at 18 episodes. Carry the 1 and add the 5, and that's over $21,000 per episode. Hey, National Endowment for the Humanities, I have a podcast that needs funding, you know? And a top media expenditure for U.S. aid, spending $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq. What does that look like? George W. Bush invading Oscar the Grouch's garbage can, claiming he's hiding WMDs there? Let's not forget the money spent on the Bearded Lady Cabaret and breakdancing. Do you want to wind up with your own ray gun, America? Because this is how you wind up with your own ray gun. On the flip side, is everything as wasteful as critics make it out to be? Paul, who is no big fan of U.S. aid to Ukraine, complains that up to $4.8 million will go to Ukraine's public affairs influencer staff, with the current amount sitting at $3.1 million. He characterizes this spending as just simply Instagram stories and TikTok dances. But we live in an information warfare era, and as we've seen with the rise of ISIS, the Ukraine war, the Hamas attack, China's growing influence, and even the U.S. presidential campaign, it's clear social media and influencers can be powerful tools for shaping the way people view reality and how we behave accordingly. You'd think Paul would have learned this lesson from his nephews, Jake and Logan, I assume. Rand Paul's concerns about U.S. government spending resonate with a lot of Americans. People are tired of seeing taxpayer money being wasted or going to other people rather than themselves. Those are legitimate concerns that should be addressed, but are there some things that Americans must spend money on, even if it's hard to see how it directly helps them? Like cocaine rats. Who knows, maybe their business ideas will be good enough to create high-paying jobs for everyone. Emphasis on high. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, check out our new premium website at americauncovered.tv. There's a lot of great exclusive stuff you can only get on the website, and you'll be helping me continue to get the truth out about all the most important breaking news. Episodes like this wouldn't be possible without your support. More info is in the description below, so head over to americauncovered.tv and become one of our first premium subscribers. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.